All right, everyone, we should be live here. Once again, Odyssey may be spurging out a little bit here, so let me make sure that the link there is actually working, though. I've had problems with Odyssey live streaming lately. Let me collapse that down a little bit. Okay. Yep, looks like we're live on Odyssey as well. Excellent. So the link actually worked this time. I've had some problems with that. Today, we're going to be talking about some various issues after I refresh this because I'm not even seeing the title, actually. Come on, you can do it. Click to live. Yeah, I do wish that Odyssey would simplify its system a little bit. Everywhere else, it's pretty much no muss, no fuss. It just takes, the live stream that you're actually doing. On Odyssey, it has the problem of occasionally attempting to use older titles and stuff. And I see that it is actually working. We do have to talk a little bit of today about the OSHA smackdown that Biden suffered. Some polling, of course. You actually had another poll that came through. It looks like Biden's approval is continuing to collapse. I wonder if Let's Go Brandon and inflation have anything to do with this. And then, of course, we are live as well on Twitch. And I will be occasionally responding to non-super chat comments. I realize if you're on Twitch, you can't actually send a tip or anything right now. I still have to do their two-step verification horse shit, which may or may not lock me out of the account because I've had problems with that too. And the smartphone era is not kind to desktop users sometimes. But mainly this is about Super Chat. So I'll be responding mainly to that. I will get to other shit. Yeah, I see some spam coming through on Twitch already. Not a surprise. And I am on Odyssey. It is apparently live there. Let me pause that so that I don't get distracted. Make sure that everything's muted. I don't have my computer audio on anyway because there's no reason to. This is not a screen sharing live stream where I have to listen to things like Joe Biden prattle on. By the way, he doesn't do a lot of appearances at this point. You may have noticed that I was doing responses like live, chuckling at Biden, chuckling at Kamala, which is much more rare. I think I only got to do one or two of those. You can't really do that. I mean, the White House doesn't have a schedule. Let me go to the White House page here really quickly. Go to the White House schedule. Yeah, I mean, for the weekends, there's always nothing. So 2 days a week, there's nothing you can do. Basically, it's just most days Jen Psaki comes out, does a presser. Occasionally, Biden will come out and do something, but it's not always necessarily going to be live anyway. There's no way to react to it. Now you don't have YouTube dislikes, so there's less of a purpose behind it as well. Let's get to some super chats. Adonis Adams, is Hinduism pagan? By Judeo-Christian standards, yes, Hinduism would be pagan. I would class it as a mainline religion, although there are 100 different subgroups of it. Many, many subgroups. The Agori would not be the same as the average Hindu practitioner. So it sort of depends on the interpretation involved, too. Cold Summer 91, if COVID does evolve into a deadly mutation, when do you think that will happen? It's unlikely. Historically speaking, it will probably follow the same trajectory as other highly infectious diseases. It'll become more transmissible and less deadly over time. That being said, you don't necessarily know that'll happen. You could have a random double mutation makes it more transmissible, but also more deadly. It's just not particularly likely. And if that happens, then all hell breaks loose probably. You end up with a situation like last year where the whole world starts locking down. People panic. They beg their government to save them, which won't happen. I'm a goat this. Let's go, Brandon. Good day to you, sir. And good day to you as well. Altas85, when is the 10.2 coming back to Vermont? Vermont needs a governor, Styx. Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to be governor of Vermont. It'd be a thankless job. I'd probably have to stop doing what I'm doing right now and would make no sense. It's not like a governor in Vermont, unless they're far left, is going to accomplish anything anyway. Styxhexenhammer, my freedom-loving nemesis and polar opposite. With Joe's help, I shall defeat you. I get the reference. People are still filing in here. By the way, already almost at 2 BLUs. Biden loser units, 300 viewers apiece. That's what I'm talking about. Just use Streamlabs for donations, says Shaker Silver. Yeah, I know, but I'd have to do a bunch of fiddling with it. StreamYard is extremely simplistic. It's like boomer tech. Opinionated Junkie, saw you debate Jessica, hashtag soccer mom. Yeah, I won't even comment on that because there's no commenting to be made. It was universal condemnation, basically, of her debating style. But I'm not going to do the personal drama thing. I mean, you debating a Dem staffer, you get what you would expect, basically. By the way, that's on the Break the Rules podcast. You can look up Break the Rules on YouTube, and I think they're also, I believe, on Twitch and elsewhere. And you can look at that. Adonis Adams, is fascism left or right wing? Left wing. All authoritarian systems are inherently left wing. Here's why. They require centrality. Really, when we think about left versus right, really it's a stand-in for the authoritarian, liberty-loving paradigm. The more centrality, the more left-wing it will be. The idea that you can take fiscal leftism, which requires high-level organization, redistributionism, bureaucracy, and sever that from the inherent power of government that will be used for moral reasons as well, thereby being morally authoritarian, is ludicrous. It's never happened. There has never been a left-wing system that is not authoritarian. And a true right-wing system could not be authoritarian because you would have much more latitude in what you do in the business sense. It would lead to a situation where, because of the constraint of government, it would be more constitutional. If there's that sort of system involved, which I personally would support, some people wouldn't. Lawrence once more, why is big tech and academia left-wing? Well, because of the centrality involved, they want to squish out their competitors. So academia, they want more students to enroll so they can steal their money and give them a piece of paper that shows that they read books and analyzed them the way they could do for free using the internet, which is why they're attacking archival sites like archive.org. They're constantly attacking the Internet Archive. Big tech does not want smaller competitors. Like right now I'm streaming on Odyssey. They don't want Odyssey to exist. They don't want BitChute to exist. They don't want Rumble. They don't want any of these sites to exist whatsoever. Cold Summer 91. If Biden's approval is this bad now, how bad will it get by 2024? I expect he will not be president in 2024. He'll have stepped down or had another health issue. He's clearly demented, and typically you don't have that many years before you literally start eating your own shit. He probably does that already. So I wouldn't expect him to be president in 2024. If his approval keeps sinking, roughly at the more or less linear rate it already has, which is cumulative damage mainly because of economic issues that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And this is even agreed upon by his own people like Janet Yellen, Citi and other banks, economists. All these people agree that the inflation, the shortages, et cetera, will persist for at least the next 6 months, and I think it'll be longer. His approval could be sub 30. If that, I mean, he wouldn't run for re-election. He'd be 82 anyway. I highly doubt he'll be the Dem candidate. I also doubt that Kamala will be the Dem candidate. Her approval is somehow even lower. It's because of the likability factor lacking. The demented person who is probably a sexual predator is more likable than you. Probably not a great idea to run for the presidency. Dylan Colvin, has the vax mandate BS been shot down yet? Yes, and we do have to get to that. The OSHA mandate is on a stay, and the Fifth Circuit upheld that stay after the Biden admin basically said, please don't do this. And they said, well, it's unconstitutional. It's too overreaching. The problem is that now Biden has to either end that, reformulate it entirely, possibly face another court case. I can't imagine any way to reformulate the vax mandate at this point that would pass legal muster in the Fifth or really any other district court or circuit court, rather. That's number one. And number two, if they take it before SCOTUS and they say, well, the Fifth Circuit is wrong, it's constitutional, I don't think that you have the votes to uphold it. And anyway, it would, stave it off for so long, COVID might not even be an issue by the time SCOTUS even bothers to take it up. And if they don't take it up, the Fifth Circuit decision is upheld. Some people are saying, well, SCOTUS will just punt on this. Doesn't matter. The Fifth Circuit decision would then be the law of the land unless SCOTUS overrules it. So I don't think the OSHA mandate will pass muster. The problem is there aren't a whole lot of constitutional workarounds for a vaccine mandate. Biden basically has been reduced in the last couple of days post-decision to basically to begging the businesses to go ahead with it anyway. Well, the truckers unions won't. The people that work on docks won't. The people that work in maybe air traffic control and shit like that probably won't. And it nullifies it for even state workers. You can even make a constitutional argument for this being properly applied to soldiers and shit like that. Maybe not under OSHA, but under the fact that the president is the chief executive, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Technically, I know that Biden's a steward, but he can make that technical argument, legally speaking. But you can't apply it to the other businesses. Again, there are two big glaring problems with the mandate being legal. Number one, he essentially admits that it's not essential under emergency orders. That was the whole auspice, by pushing it back. And number two, if it's so important, why not apply it to smaller businesses? Why have this arbitrary cutoff of 100 employees? It doesn't make any sense. From a legal perspective, it's almost inarguable. The best prosecutors or lawyers in the land probably could not prop up the OSHA mandate, even if the Fifth Circuit had said, okay, well, we're going to allow it to go forward now, but you're going to need to talk to SCOTUS about this. Even then, it would probably get shot down. Darun Albane. Tim Pool had a scary point about the Rittenhouse trial. The prosecutor is violating the constitutional rights of Rittenhouse, and the judge blocked it. But people like that lawyer will be judges in 10 years. Yeah, some of them. I don't think the prosecutors in this case will be. Not even if they prevail. Maxwell Weschul's opinion on the claim that Let's Go Brandon is useless and ineffective. Also, do you think Tim Pool is becoming more black-pilled at times? Yeah, Tim Pool, he keeps swallowing the black pill, and I don't think that it's correct to do. But then again, he's in a little bit of a different situation. I think, isn't he based in like New Jersey or some shit? I'd be black-pilled if I was there at the moment. No, Let's Go Brandon is not useless. The fact is, it's so effective that it's being called a racist or extremist canard by the leftoids. They're doing this with critical race theory. They're doing this with wokeness. They're doing this with probably at this point the I did that Biden stickers on gas pumps, calling it ineffective to try to dissuade people from doing it, specifically because it is effective. It's just a little bit of reverse psychology. Alan McGowan, Styx, you and I are both ex-Satanists. Let's jive on a spiritual level. Yeah, that's interesting. There are a lot of ex-Satanists. It's funny because some people that are on the further right still attack me as though I was still involved with LaVeyan Satanism. It's like, okay, the early 2010s called. They want their relevancy back. It's been a good long decade of me exploring other spiritual fronts. And I did that because atheism's empty. Satanism's empty. It's a form of atheism. These people still think it's devil worship or some shit. Like that fucking concert, they're saying, well, it looked dark and spooky and satanic. Therefore, it's a sacrifice ritual. And I'm sitting here as someone who studied the occult laughing my ass off. Nicholas Short, greetings from England. Love your work. Talk about the dog, please. Yes, that is not our pupper. That actually is my mother-in-law's pupper. She was staying over for a few days. BC, many of my close friends and relatives can't fathom that I'd allow myself to lose my job. I'm compensated well over a vax mandate. Will not comply. Well, good. Yeah, I mean, the vax mandate's been ruled unconstitutional. Shouldn't have to comply. If the business persists in it, then you should find a different, better business. It's an employee's market. I'm sure that if you've got any skills at all, you can find another job from a business that either has under 100 employees and doesn't give a shit, or has over 100 employees but still doesn't give a shit. There's plenty of open positions because millions of people have dropped out of the workforce to get the funny money handouts that Biden keeps giving them. And I don't even blame half of them. If you can get 85, 90% of your income, not have to travel, not have to work at all, and if you're spending that time usefully, learning a new skill, maybe you're expanding your garden, maybe you're learning an instrument or whatever. Yeah, it's basically, yeah, consider it a free period in college. Some people go to college, they waste their time drinking and doing drugs, like me some of the time. Others study hard. Jens Peterson, your perspective on starting from the bottom up and white pill has given me courage in some hard times. So I took the advice, cleaned up my entire apartment in one day and worked out every single day except one this week. Excellent. Yes, self-improvement is a good thing. You know, you work out enough, maybe you open a gym. You learn a new instrument. Maybe you start a band. You have more mobility if you simply, Scott Adams talks about this, build up your talent stack. Learn a new skill. Anything that you learn, literally anything that you know how to do, allows you to potentially get a better form of employee. Even being cleanly. Well, you could do housekeeping. The kind of tips that you get in that, if you work for rich people in certain parts of the country, yeah, certainly it beats burger flipping. Well, you've obtained upward mobility. Michael Turney, when will Biden kick the bucket? I have no clue. That's why he has Kamala come out before him, especially when he's on the stairs. He doesn't want her to, accidentally knock him down the stairs or something, although it seems that a stiff wind will knock him up the stairs. So we'll see. He has had 2 aneurysms. In the last year, he's had 3 falls, one which he blames on chasing his dog around trying to grab its tail, which is ludicrous. He clearly has mental issues, so I don't know. I don't care about that. I just care when he resigns or is kicked out of office. Opinionated junkie. I am tired of the left, center-left, social justice warrior sympathizers, and even rhinos using the response talking point, right-wing talking point. I say enough. Yeah, that happens a lot. If you tell the truth, you're a right-wing extremist. It's been that way for a number of years, to the point where I see, like, there are far leftists. I won't name names. There are far left creators that no longer use leftist as a label because of this. Mainly because they don't want to alienate large swaths of their own audience. Dan Jakes, I don't get any news from MSN. I get it from you. Well, that's good. There are other creators. You should watch H.A. Goodman, Razor Fist, Tim Pool. I realize there's some black pilling there, but he's a good analyst. Fucking Joe Rogan. So, Lionel Nation. I know he has some takes I don't agree with too, but he's a good dude. As opposed to the journos and the legacy media, none of them are good people. They're all corrupt. Cold Summer 91. I saw some data saying blacks and Hispanics are more likely to accept anti-Semitic stereotypes than white people. Why do you think this is? Because there's less pressure on them. If you focus on white people as one singular group, say they're hateful, and browbeat them 24/7, a lot of them will shut up. Whereas there's no such pressure on black nationalist groups, which tend to be literally the most anti-Semitic. When I heard of the Protocols of Zion, it wasn't from a white Anglo-Saxon person. It was from my Mexican ex-wife. So, yes, that does exist there, mostly outside of the Anglo-Saxon world. Broken Sword. I am a truck driver and told my family I'm not coming home for the family get-together. Why? Because they voted for Biden and we need truck drivers. Well, I mean, that's good, although I don't believe in cutting off your family over political disputes. So, you can at least take a selfie of you with the turkey sandwich with the gravy on it and send it to them anyway. You could do a Zoom call from your truck. I don't know if that's legal in all states, but, maybe. They can watch you driving around while they eat their potato salad and their cranberry sauce. Joshua San Filippo, I now teach private school, 7th through 12th grade, and I've always wanted to teach at the college level. I want to go back for my master's degree, but I refuse to wear a mask or get the jab. My current job is great, but I don't make a lot. Yeah, well, I mean, teaching in a school is still better than flipping burgers, so, you've got a reasonably good position. You've just got to make the decision, do you want to have to sacrifice for a slightly better position? Honestly, given the way that colleges work nowadays, you probably have more job security as a fucking high school teacher, so it's rather sad. The Grizzly, hey there, Styx. You're from a northern state. I was wondering what's your favorite thing to do in winter is. I ask this as it's actively snowing. My favorite thing to do in the winter is stay at home and do nothing, because I hate the cold. I mean, I'm not joking. It's pretty much the truth. The Grizzly. Also, what do you think the chances of Biden being impeached by the Republicans would be if the best case scenario of the midterms play out for the GOP? Not massively high, but measurable. It would be risky because it might backfire, or they might, Liz Cheney votes no, and then they have a problem. If they think that they have the votes, though, kicking him and Kamala aside might be the best thing, under the auspices of we've got to actually fix what's going on. Zachnate 100, by the way, $100 donation. Thank you very much. I am in a job that has decided to follow the mandate to cover any fines for non-compliance. I'm unsure what to do here because partly that it's not a full-on mandate, just weekly tests, but mostly because I have medical operations that I need to have done. Not a fun time. Yeah, I can't really give you much in the way of advice for that. You can do the weekly testing, and I guess you have to mask up depending on the business. Also, low-key, you can look for another similar job. You might even get better benefits or more pay. It's an employee's market right now. Even Biden's constantly parroting this. It's the one thing that's actually going well in the economy, is that people that are in positions have more latitude, both horizontally and potentially upward mobility. There are other businesses, I'm sure, pretty much, depending. Are you an assassin? Okay, there might be not that many cartels that are hiring right now. But if you're doing, any form of blue collar work, academics, anything clerical, there are job openings available. Just don't tell your current employer you're looking around. You're shopping around for a potential new position. Maybe bide your time and do that. Sebastian Lee, who's your all-time favorite Fallout character? Mine's Joshua Graham from New Vegas. I'm going to do basic bitch mode here and say Nick Valentine from Fallout 4, I think was massively fleshed out, as opposed to many Fallout 4 characters. The voice acting was terrific. The backstory was terrific. I don't know. I'm a little bit partial because I like that, like, meh, she, Tommy Gun sort of era thing. Just my own personal opinion. M6KVM on Twitch saying, I had to cut off one person in my family for being grossly offensive and suggesting I get evicted for not getting the jab. Yeah, I've had, squabbles with certain family members over political issues too, but I don't know about cutting them off. It's more like they'll sulk for a while and you just debate them and get them riled up, let them sulk for a while, and then later on, just fucking talk about something else. Alan McGowan, Black Hebrew Israelites are black Nazis. Changed my mind. Yes, literally. They're also hilarious. Okay, over to Odyssey because we have a couple of super chats there. Root Dead on Odyssey. Anything the left doesn't like is racism or some other ism. Yes, I think everyone has noticed that at this point. There's not a whole lot of nuance there. And Woke Goat, my butt's been wiped. Yes, it's funny because people still use that as a meme, even though it doesn't appear that Biden actually physically said that. Whatever he said was being drowned out by the helicopter rotors. I don't know what the fuck he was saying, but people, the fact that so many people defaulted to thinking that he was mentioning his ass being wiped isn't that kind of telling in and of itself as far as his mental state goes? I think it is. Elemendorius, this is back on YouTube. Hey, Styx, are you paying any attention to the Rittenhouse trial? Yes, I've been watching it every day. I suspect tomorrow we may get a verdict. It may come quite quickly. It's hard to say what the verdict will be. I still lean towards believing it'll be impossible to find 12 people that'll give him like murder one. I mean, they can consider him being antagonistic, but if you look at the videos, there's no antagonism going on. I refuse to believe that you can find 12 people moronic enough to convict him on the major charges. I'm thinking the weapons charge I think is off the table too now. That's basically been thrown aside. Manslaughter, maybe. They might give him that. I mean, if he didn't violate curfew, he didn't violate a weapons ordinance, and you can't really give him murder one because he can't establish that he planned to go there and kill people, which he clearly didn't, and all testimony has borne that out. Maybe manslaughter or something. I mean, he might serve some time in prison, but the thing is, it's not murder one. You're not going to go to prison for life for the sort of lesser charges they're including. There's no guarantee that he gets any charge. He might be found completely not guilty. And even if he gets found guilty, the judge theoretically can declare a mistrial and throw out the case on a constitutional basis. I figure if I was him, I'm old, I don't give a shit anymore, I'd probably do that anyway, just to watch the world burn. It'd be hilarious. Sebastian Monroe, I just noticed you were on. What the fuck, YouTube? No notify. Yeah, it happens a lot. People are definitely getting more notifications on the base videos, less so on live streams. So I don't know what YouTube's up to. Silver Kestrel, Tim Pool's optimism after Virginia didn't last long. Mine is still going strong when I look at the fucking polls that I'm analyzing. But I think he does that less often. Like his is more general commentary. I focus on and analyzing raw data. Number one, like Nate Silver back when he was actually intelligent, didn't look like a sopping, greasy fish. After the 2016 election, did you see that one picture of him? He's like covered in a sheen of like stress sweat or something. He looks terrible. I like to think that I don't look that bad. I'm still optimistic. Cold Summer 91. Have you ever played the Persona games? I wondered because there's a lot of occult influences in them. No, I've never heard of them, actually. It's a huge amount of occult influence in what was it called? Fucking Ogre Battle 64, which was my favorite game of that generation. Massively underrated, by the way. You can emulate it. Play Ogre Battle 64 if you like RPGs. One of the most unsung, greatest franchises in history. Did well in Japan, but they decided not to really advertise it in the US, and so only a handful of copies sold. It took my mom like 5 years to find a working cartridge. This is prior to the advent of eBay, by the way, and home computing for most people in the lower classes, so don't sue me. Dwarf 3535. Hey Styx, could we have a Clankfest in Brandon, Connecticut this summer? It could feature political, pagan, and gardening lectures, followed by doom metal and darkwave bands. Please, love from the dwarves. That would be kind of fun. Although Brandon, Vermont is a little bit closer to my hub of activity over there. Salty Chaldean. I don't plan to cut off my family, but I'll explain to them that I have no wish to get a vaccine that merely treats symptoms, complications aside. And that's your choice. There's no vax mandate at this point because it's been shot down by the court. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, you have to weigh cost and benefit. Everyone does, risk versus reward. A lot of people have weighed that and said they're not willing to take the time. I'm not vaccinated. I don't plan to be. It's not because I'm anti-vax or any of these other mythological bullshit sloganeered statements from the leftoids. It's because I'm just too lazy. I'm not afraid of COVID. I just don't, I don't care. Alamandorius. Okay, what do you think of the fact the prosecution was able to admit fake evidence? Not necessarily fake, but potentially altered. But that, if you look at those grainy stills that were admitted, I can't imagine those swinging the jury. The jury already looked, during the prosecution's last tirades, the jury apparently, by all accounts, looked like they were zoning out. I think a lot of them have already made up their minds that the trial's horseshit. In which case, I think Rittenhouse gets found not guilty. And I've said, if he doesn't get found not guilty on all charges, possibly the weapons charge, which again got tossed aside because they can't prove it, then it'll be because they're afraid of riots. It won't be because they actually genuinely think that Rittenhouse antagonized people and is responsible for murder. It'll be due to political reasons. Adonis Adams, I want to become an expat. Any tips? Work from home and make a decent income. That's in the era of COVID, it's difficult. Like I'd gotten married and came here before the pandemic, months before that. If it was now, I don't know that it would be possible, honestly. Travel has shut down across a lot of the world. Michael Conley. 5 years ago when Trump got elected, I tried to buy the t-shirt you were wearing that night. Trump 2024, ass white Biden, hashtag let's go Brandon. I can't even remember which shirt I was wearing at the time. Meximan and Cheese. Family called me crazy for prepping in January 2020 for COVID. Call me crazy for not wanting to take the shot and moving out of my city. I'm crazy like a fox. Yeah, I mean, it makes some more sense to move out of big cities at the moment anyway, because they're overrun with crime and other problems, so nobody can really blame you. Rich. Thoughts on the clip going around of Tim Pool leveling up into Alex Jones? Haven't seen it. Josh Eternal. Does Trump's snubbing of Assange prove he's DS? No, that's for political reasons. If he had gone all in and said, oh, yes, Assange did nothing wrong, he would have gotten crucified. He would have gotten removed for that. We'll see if he gets a second term and he doesn't have to worry about re-election. We'll see what happens then. I'd be optimistic, actually. Shaker Silver, you're vastly underestimating how bad the inclusion of the provocation instruction for Kyle is. It prejudices the jury and is all the state's case has. Yes, but they don't have any evidence to back up that potentially prejudicial statement. What evidence have they admitted? He played Call of Duty. He got chased, and we know that he killed several people. You would have to find that in that initial interaction, he was the one provocating. The problem is that it was already testified to that he had a gun pointed at him. A shot was fired. He ran. That's all before that happens. A person is physically assaulting him. I realize throwing a plastic bag full of trash at someone isn't the most meaningful, but it could be construed potentially as assault. Is chasing him. He essentially could not outrun the dude and then fired. That's all. Sebastian Monroe. Winter Chan once again blesses us with snowfall. Yeah, no snow here. Not even a frost yet. Peter, pretty sure YouTube limits the number of notifications any channel can send out per day. That's why no notifications for your live. No, but a lot of times people don't even get notifications for the main videos, at least until more recently. By the way, we have 2,000 people cross-platform watching, closer to 2,100. So that's about seven BLUs, Biden loser units. Let's go back to Odyssey really quick. Keki Stani, treats for the pussy. Oceanborn, think Rittenhouse will get off? I hope so. It'll be a miscarriage of justice if he's found guilty. Heraclius 610, Styx, jury intimidation, like with Chauvin. You admitted your naivete last time. I appreciate the optimistic outlook, but we have to stay grounded. Yeah, there is intimidation of the jury. I would agree with that. It's just that, I mean, with the Chauvin case, it was a little bit different. The preponderance of evidence wasn't this far in favor of the defendant. Andreas Christian, wouldn't it be funny if the judge holds off to see what the jury does, and then on the last second, if they find him guilty, adds, well, that's because of juror intimidation, so I'm going to rule instead not guilty. It is possible. It's unlikely, but it's possible. Back to YouTube. Desiccated corpse. Hi, Styx. How do I escape the communist country, formerly known as Australia? They're banning unvaxxed people from going to stores for essentials now. Of course, our politicians are exempt from this law. Peace. You're on an island, so I guess build your own gyrocopter or something. I don't know how to escape from prison island. It was formed as a prison colony, and it's regressed back into being one. Black Hebrew Israelite. We are not Nazi peas. Let's go, Brennan. Das right. Orange Goku. How do you like Andy's logs, with nuts or corn? Little rice bits mostly. Yeah, I had 273 log images, actually, in my log folder. This is a 4chan meme, just for people that aren't aware. Although it's spread to Twitter. Every time Andy Biersack posts, I post log memes on it. Bo Blair, $5, no comment. Thank you very much. And I think you actually sent it twice. I'm not 100% sure there. Alamandorius, on the vax mandate, what do you think is going to happen with the people who were fired in advance of its supposed happening? Rehired or lawsuits? Depends on whether they get rehired, I suppose. They could have a case. If the mandate's unconstitutional and that's the only reason that the business acted, I would think they'd want to rehire anyway if they were reluctant at all. I know I would. If I had a business, I would hold out as long as possible. I wouldn't want to rock the boat if I'm making any money at all. Frank Spisato, did you see the Hell of a Boss scene where Stolas self-summons and pauses a human in demon form? If so, what did you think of that? Stay free. Yeah, I think I did see that scene, actually. I think Hell of a Boss is cool. Stolas, definitely my favorite demon for multiple reasons. Nickel Dime, how long before the Biden I did that stickers get labeled as domestic terrorism? I don't think they'd go that far, but they might try to label it as far-right extremism. Well, you don't understand the economy. You know, Biden does, of course. You don't understand how inflation works. It's not Joe Biden's fault. The shortages have nothing to do with him. That'd be funny. Martin Lemontagne. Does one of your book cover your take on the Voynich manuscript? No, but I do have an occult video on the topic. I think I looked at it and figured that it was probably some obscure herbal, actually, or possibly alchemical work. God of the Night are saying, leftists saying Kyle killed black people so that they will riot for them. Yes, they're obviously trying to encourage political violence to intimidate the jury and to intimidate everyone else. Because all the people that Rittenhouse shot were white. And so that doesn't really go along with the line of him being racist and extremist, so they have to conjure illusions instead. McNuck69 bought a 3-month complimentary food reserve for the year of MREs, didn't plan on not shitting. Thanks for the advice last vid that we would have, that would have been horrible. Yeah, it's instead of MREs, they can be tasty, but you don't want to eat them more than once or twice a week, probably, for your health purposes. Just stock up staple grains, staple legumes, some canned vegetables and fruits. You know, make sure that you have a can opener if you've got cans that don't have tabs on them. Rectal Ranger. All this talk about Rittenhouse, yet no word on the real case sticks. Is Chris walking free? How could they imprison and persecute Christ himself? Yes, Chris Chan, I guess, is his trial going now? Or I know there's updates on it, but I just don't give a shit about Chris Chan. All I see is the one whacked out dude with delusions, and you know, I don't think he's mentally competent. They should find him. They should put him in the asylum. Lemmy from Motorhead. I want my jacket back. Yes, this is buffalo leather, by the way. So this is the real shit. Razor Fist recommended the specific style of jacket. Because my old one that got worn out, it had like holes in it in the arms and shit. And I'm like, well, I guess I better get a new one. Kim Dobbs. All we can hope for is snow in Wisconsin. Snow equals fewer rioters. Yeah, but then they might put rocks and snowballs and start hurling them. Sebastian Monroe. A good way to oust commies without mentioning it. Just call him a commie. Liquid Blake. Can I give a shout out to my second favorite BitChute channel, Sultan of Smug? He has S-tier bond market and Federal Reserve analysis. Sounds pretty cool. So that's a shout out. Desiccated Corpse. If Kyle was a black person shooting at white people, the left would be losing their minds. Yeah, it would be. They would assume it was self-defense. They wouldn't criticize him. They would say that the fact that he was being prosecuted was evil and racist. John Hoyle, are you riding a bike up in the Netherlands? I do not know how to ride a standard bike. I've thought about getting one of those that have the double wheels in front. I mean, it's better for carrying things anyway. But I prefer walking. I mean, the bike lane gets kind of dicey here in the Netherlands. Bikes can be a danger to pedestrians and vehicles alike. Elemendorius, you woke the furry overlord when you picked up your coffee. Make restitution to avoid the overlord's wrath. Yeah, she's having a tired day. She and her sister were both goofy last night, and so they're still they've got to sleep during the day so they can keep us up at night. Genghis Kong. Styx, thanks for the years of commentary. I could never regurgitate in a social setting. I just refer them to you. Make New England great again. New England will stay great. It's moving in the other political direction at the moment. Free State Project in New Hampshire. Maine arguably becoming less of a blue bulwark. Even Vermont can have that happen. It's just not going to happen this cycle, I think. Son of Tiamat. Team 4-star has gone woke and is deleting transphobic comments like a bunch of sneeding Jannies. How very sad. Sebastian Monroe. The snowfall is in Wisconsin. I hope this quells riots. Nope. I don't think that the rioters care. They've got nothing better to do. Get a little physical activity. They get a little bit less cold when they're out in the snow. Peter. Provocation gives left on the jury a place to argue he shouldn't have been there. It's not legally correct, but it will work as an argument in the jury room. They will likely reach a compromise verdict on a lesser included. It's possible they do, but even that might get thrown out by the judge. Rittenhouse constitutional rights were clearly violated. Don't forget that. RZ the Legend. My conspiracy theory. Richard Spencer is not a confused Democrat, but a strategist. What sense would it make to try and create a white ethno-state when he could just go with the flow and help create it indirectly through leftism? Yeah, maybe. He is being strategic. I think it's more. He expects that Biden and Kamala are terrible for the economy and for culture and causing a lot of alienation. And that makes it easier to recruit people for his ideology by simply saying, well, the Republicans didn't save you from this. Trump is a cuck. You have to deal with this horse shit. Come side with us. Similar to a Weimar concept, actually. This happened between the NSDAP and the commies at the time. ERJG 1954 bought $100 worth of Brandon stickers. Thanks for the link. Passing them out and posting them everywhere. Yeah, that makes sense. If the prices went down, the Dems would make it a meme and they'd have the stickers next to the lower prices and they'd say, yeah, Biden did that. Biden's good for the economy. But that won't happen, at least not anytime in the next year. Doc Holliday. Beijing Biden's favorite movie is Cuties. Yeah, probably. With him, considering how old he is, probably Gone with the Wind or something. Baron Von Blair. Happy Sunday, Sticks. No shit pumping today, so dumping green waste on you. And crypto. Clank. Yeah, crypto is good. Cold Summer 91. Do you think Rhode Island will also start moving in the other direction politically? Maybe, but Rhode Island is basically like two cities. So considering its population density and demographics, probably less likely. Trip Yarbrough. Are you familiar with Yuri Bezmenov and his idea of the subversion of the West? Yes, I am. I think some elements of that are apparently true. Okay, back to Odyssey for a second here. Mr. My Audi, crypto, what do you think about Monero? Do you hold any Monero or any other privacy coin? Bitcoin ledger addresses and balances info is public. It seems to me it could be used by politicians to control people. See, I don't really care if the things that I do crypto-wise are public. I see it as an investment long-term. Bitcoin being the gold, Litecoin being the silver, etc. The privacy side of it isn't really so much why I'm using it. For a lot of people, it is, though. So, yeah, they should hold Monero and shit, probably. Oceanborn, Styx, can you please create a GoFundMe to buy an island, then proclaim it an independent nation called Clankdom that you will rule over as a king? Bring together clankers from around the world. Yeah, that would require a lot of investment. So, unfortunately, you'd start off with massive population density and not enough liquid assets to actually build anything. And because we're all internet addicted, you know, we'd have to piggyback like Tanzanian Wi-Fi probably or something. MDJ2, Styx, what do you think of this political map? Let me open that up. Political compass. If it'll load. Yeah, that's definitely anime related. I don't know. There are a million derivations of political compasses, but good on you for making it, assuming that you're the one that made the image in the first place. Waltarm, I've seen it argued that the inflation is good because it will lead to a boom just like the last time inflation was high in 1990. Thoughts? If we had economic sense other than the fact that there's inflation, you might be able to argue that. Right now, though, you're holding back economic productivity, partially tied in with the inflation, higher costs, and a shortage of supplies. So a lot of people, they can't really invest in doing the sort of things that you would do in order to make the economy bigger. And they're trying to crack down on the internet to make it less innovative. Bear Post, what are your thoughts on the Kabbalion and Hermeticism? I think a classic liberal debate between you and Jordan Peterson would be interesting. As far as the latter, yeah, I'd debate Jordan Peterson maybe sometime. I don't know what we'd debate about. I edited the Kabbalion. Interesting work. Hermeticism at large is interesting. But I find that my main interest within the occult, herbalism, number one, that's the big one, fortune telling, which there aren't as many works on, but I find the basic concept of dream interpretation, divination, etc. fascinating. And then the black magic side of it, it can't help but be interesting, but I've exhausted most of the public domain works I could possibly edit for that. If I could get someone to maybe translate the Picatrix, I'd do something like that. The only other one is the Warnock version, I think. It's in the 80s, so it's still copyrighted. It'd have to be independently translated in order to be workable. The Grizzly, what do you think Michigan's chances for going red are in 2022 and 24? Do you think the GOP can take Sheedolf Whitler down? Possibly. If you look at what happened in New Jersey, that could definitely be a problem for the Democrats. I think it might very well go Republican in 24. Midterms, less certain. Desiccated Corpse. And by the way, people, please don't send any more super chats. I got a few more to go through, and I still have to go shopping, so I'll keep it a little bit shorter today, I think, generally. I'm going to try to do at least one other live stream as well during this subsequent week. I'm going to try to do that, but really it's requisite on Biden or Kamala or something doing something that's notable that I can actually react to. Desiccated Corpse. In the 2000s, it was the left criticizing the authoritarianism of the right. Now the left are doing the authoritarianism. Gotta love hypocrisy. It's better to say Republican versus Democrat. All authoritarians are leftoids. There is a 100% overlap between these two things. The problem is that they labeled themselves liberal. But yes, they are the authoritarians. They are the big government types. They're the world policers of this age. They're the ones partnered with billionaires, and they're the ones that want you and I to shut up. They don't want us speaking. That is authoritarianism, and it requires the kind of fiscal control. You see their attacks on crypto within the larger Build Back Better deal. That crypto regulation is still there. That attack is coming from people who are ostensibly, they proclaim themselves liberal. Not really liberal in the world sense, but in the US sense is meaning vaguely leftist. Yes, authoritarian. God of the Night, how long until Biden gets frustrated with the courts? Oh, he already is, because they keep shooting down his proposals because they're always unconstitutional. Not a big surprise, because the dude wants to be an imperial president and rule by executive order. When presidents are hamstrung by the legislature, sometimes they try to do that. The funny part, Trump was more restrained. When he was throttled by the legislature, despite having Republicans in control of things at first. He was the one that backed off. Biden's the one that just reformulates his executive order and tries again. And that's pretty funny. Linda Dean on Twitch. No, Republicans are authorities, not Democrat. I think you mean authoritarians. No, they are both authoritarian, generally speaking. The thing is that if you have leftist economics, that intrinsic control and centrality will spawn moral authoritarianism. You cannot avoid it. If you have an extremely laissez-faire system, which is not proposed by most Republicans, I would agree with you, but by some Rand Paul or some of the more populistic members, as opposed to the old wave neocons, that is a more libertarian style philosophy. If the government's less centralized, less bureaucracy, less rules, less budget, it will inherently be able to abuse people less. You cannot avoid leftist economics becoming authoritarian. It has happened with every regime in history that's been leftist. And you cannot have as much authoritarianism feasibly if you have less of that centrality. That's just the truth of it. Barely burned bread. He looked at Twitch. Yes, I can see all the Twitch comments here right on StreamYard. It's just that mainly this is about super chats and I can't take them on Twitch yet. That may change in the future, in which case I'll have fucking 3 levels of fucking commentary to go through, and it'll be even more difficult. Yeah, it'll be difficult, but yeah. Make America smart again on Twitch. Styx official, Jesus Christ, you're an idiot. There are more than 20 GOP QAnon supporters running for office in 2022. QAnon advocates for literal genocide. That is authoritarian. The QAnon thing is a LARP. It was invented by leftoids, by the way, in order to fool right-wingers into not knocking on doors thinking they should just trust the plan. It was a ruse. The idea that these individuals believe that there were shenanigans, there was honking going on in the last election, does not mean that they're advocating genocide, number one. There's no insurrection on January 6th, number two. That's not authoritarian. So the belief in the January 6th protesters not being held indefinitely without trial, that's an authoritarian view. The belief that you should not have billionaires censoring information on the internet's authoritarian. I would argue the opposite. That's a libertarian position. It's just like when I was debating Jessica Deloach the other day on Break the Rules. She said that the government needs to do more to stop disinfo. I pointed out that would inevitably mean billionaires censoring things in partnership with the government. Quasi-fascistic. The fusion of corporate and government power. Quasi-fascistic. It's something we need desperately to avoid. Linda Dean on Twitch. Does not matter who started QAnon. The point is Trump uses it. So how's that authoritarianism? The belief in hastily written Nostradamus-style screeds on 4chan is a form of authoritarianism now? No, it's not. If you want to look at a real conspiracy theory, look at the actual attempt to usurp the government by the Democrats with the Russia hoax that we now know has been completely exposed. There's your authoritarianism. Weaponizing federal agencies. Trump didn't do that. Weaponizing federal agencies to abuse private citizens and start nonsense. Linda Dean, Trump is fascist. Well, fascism would be best defined as the fusion of corporate and government power. Trump was openly opposed by virtually all corporations. They heaped abuse on him. The legacy media, those are corporations, by the way. They're not independent. Big tech, censoring him, kicking him off the platforms, preventing him from speaking. Kind of the opposite of that fusion you would need for fascism. I would say that Trump is authoritarian in some ways. And hear me out. I know that some people in here are Trump fans. There are ways in which he was an authoritarian. When the Syria strikes happened, which I condemned, that was a form of world policing. It was softer and more light than what you've seen from prior administrations, but it still shouldn't have happened. I believe that. When he said in the first 48 hours he was president that we should reopen the CIA black sites, that is a violation of the Fourth Amendment and many other amendments, by the way, the right to due process, and was authoritarian. But by and large, when I preponder what he actually attempted to do and the way in which he did it, it is considerably less authoritarian than Bush-Obama, Herbert Walker, Clinton, second term Reagan, certainly Biden. You'd have to go back to the first couple of years of Ronald Reagan's first term to find a president that was as populistic. And I can't even, in living memory, there's no president that was as laissez-faire in many endeavors as Donald Trump. The fact is that the term authoritarian generally can be used for U.S. politics and Western politics in general. That's true. I would like it if the government, 90% of its functions were devolved to the states, to private entities, or entirely done away with. There shouldn't be a drug war. There shouldn't be a war on guns. There should be no partnership of the government with big corporations that also platform any form of public good or service or figure, which is all of big tech, by the way. We shouldn't be world policing. I have no problem with bases on foreign soil, but we shouldn't be warmongering. All of these things the U.S. government and similar governments do are authoritarian, and Trump was not an exception in generally partaking in that. I'm just saying that in the preponderance of things, and this is why I got back on the Trump train after getting off when he had Pence as his VP, because I don't like Pence, and I still don't, when Rand Paul endorsed him, it is a tolerable form of government compared to what you've had in our lifetimes, as millennials, many of you are. John Snow, Styx, why don't you rebrand to Tarl Warwick? Could bring in more subscribers. Uneasy about the satanic undertones from 666, etc. Because I don't want subscribers that are going to rant about the occult stuff that I do or the things that I say based on a belief that I worship the devil because of a fucking YouTube username. I honestly don't want them to subscribe. It would just be dead weight on the channel. To thine own self be true. I'm not giving up the username. I realize that it's less searchable. That's one thing I have thought of, but I don't know, it's just not worth the effort either. I am Styxhexenhammer 666 and always will be. Salty Keldian, I hope that you keep your present Styxhexenhammer 666 branding. It's an excellent filter to people who get easily offended on moral lines. Yes, that was the initial reason I kept it. When the URLs, you can customize your URL if you have enough subscribers on YouTube. I could do that easily. It wouldn't be a problem. I'd rather not, though. Jay Reeds, and by the way, no more super chats. We're running up on near an hour. Styx, you mentioned 2 months ago that lockdowns and mandates were going away. How do you feel now with countries like Austria and Norway re-implementing them? I oppose them, but they had been going away, and in some places they're not coming back. A lot of people are getting real fucking tired. It's like here in the Netherlands. Again, there is sporadic enforcement at best and not high compliance with the mask mandate. When their new lockdown comes into effect, which is now, essentially today, there are some businesses who have openly stated they will not abide by the curfew for their businesses. They will stay open at the normal hours. What are they going to do? Send the cops there? People are having dinner. You're going to send a van full of politie or handhaving or whatever to the restaurant? They don't have the capability of doing it. Cora Brent 1234. Could the Dems and Repubs be working together and the Repubs just being a form of pressure relief valve as they both march us towards a desired end game? Thank you for all your content and work you do. Some of them are. The rhino cons, like the Bush types, absolutely. Bush was a liberal by the U.S. terminology. Morningwood, who still uses the word, and I don't know if I can even use that on YouTube, so Negro. Well, Biden does. It's true that that was just a verbal mix-up. That was, you could attribute it to a stutter. But still, come on. If Trump had made that mistake, everyone would be calling him a racist. Apollo 536, those who say Trump is fascist wouldn't know a fascist if one came up and bit them on the backside. Yes, or kicked them with their jackboot. Desiccated Corpse, keep the brand. I shall. No more on Odyssey here. So yeah, I think I will end that there. And go off stream. By the way, yes, I am aware, my Nibba, that Biden doesn't have a stutter, but he misspoke. He did not mean to use that word in the context that he stumblingly did at first. But he's got dementia. Dude's got Alzheimer's. You know, he can't help it. He makes verbal mistakes every single time he fucking talks. It's a big problem. The president of the United States is not mentally well. But yeah, I think I'll go off here after some fun with the Twitch audience there, the more leftoid ones that stumbled onto the stream. I don't know why you're following the content, but there's plenty more to see. Don't worry. History will not be kind to the leftoid movements of the world. That's about all. Peace out.